Hello, today I'll be talking about my paper, Female Offending, the theoretical explanation of why and how women commit crime, and an effective form of intervention. Now, within the realm of the criminal justice system, research has indicated that historically, women were not perceived as criminals. Society has historically perceived them as being morally superior to men, or because they were either seen as caregivers, therefore not having enough time to commit crime. Now, although women commit crime at lower rates than men, the reality is that when they do commit crime, they'll take on a more gender specific approach that is geared to serve their own motives and needs. Women who commit crime focus on a means for survival. In most cases, they experience some form of economic marginalization. Therefore, when they commit crime, it's because of an absence of necessity. Therefore, in order to attain those necessities, they have to take a more illegitimate avenue. And we see this with regard to more property crimes and non-violent crimes. We see that in most cases, women will use their femininity as a tool to engage in crime. Research will indicate that sex work is a very commonly used form to attain the means of illegitimate income. Women, in some cases of robbery, also appear more sexually appealing to their victim in order to lure them into a secondary location and then rob them. And then research also indicates that drug dealing and the sales of narcotics are very common amongst women. Data would suggest that women are motivated to commit crimes at elevated rates when that motivation is generated by some form of economic deprivation. In my paper, I indicated that researchers state that the theory of social disorganization accurately explains why women commit crime. And as poverty is an element that is embedded in social disorganization theory, the researchers conducted a study that analyzed the effects that poverty would have on recidivism rates amongst women, in contrast to women who received state-funded support. And the results indicated that throughout a 6-month period with a sample of 134 female offenders, when women were provided with state-funded resources, job training, housing, healthcare, they were far less likely to reoffend and engage in deviant behavior. Therefore, displaying how poverty and economic struggles are conducive to crime, specifically higher rates of property crime amongst women. Although men and women have similar motivations to commit a crime, there are gender-specific factors that play a role in the likelihood that they will reoffend. In another study, life course theory was applied to the gender-specific elements amongst men and women that would potentially cause more or fewer rates of recidivism. The findings showed that women valued the importance of familial relationships more than men, therefore implying that women reoffend far less than men because they realize that their children or other family members that are dependent upon them are far more important than a life of crime. Now, in my paper, I focused on South Central Los Angeles as a location to analyze current crime rates amongst women. It's a neighborhood that is predominantly Latino and Black and has historically fallen under a spectrum of racial and economic inequality. According to the LA Times, South Central is on the lower end of the average household income for all of Los Angeles. And researchers also found that earnings and employment rates have continued to decrease, creating a link to more property crimes. Now, in order to gain a better understanding of how women contribute to crime rates in South Central, I interviewed 3 individuals, one an LAPD detective, a Los Angeles resident, a college student, and a former female offender. And I asked them questions that were related to the 2 theories that I chose, but I focused on attaining responses that answered questions regarding the motivations behind why women commit crime, elements of social background, and exterior motives that influence deterrence amongst female offenders. And out of all the conversations that I had, social disorganization theory was the more relevant reason as to why women commit crime. In each of the interviews, the individuals were throwing out phrases such as a need for survival or a lack of adequate resources to attain legitimate success. And with regard to life course theory, the former female offender indicated that she had to clean up her act for the sake of her children, that even though she engaged in deviant behavior as a means of survival, it was not worth it if she couldn't be there for her children. Now, evidence suggests that women commit crimes as a result of their environment, social background, and reoffend if they have inadequate resources or if they realize that their lifestyle is detrimental to their loved ones. The 2 theories that I chose for my paper are primarily linked to the philosophy of positivism, which states that crime occurs as a result of biological and social elements that have an impact on human behavior. Research indicates that the most effective approaches to remedy these problems would be programs that are focused on prevention and intervention. So community-based programs that are gender-focused to address specific lifestyle issues. And one program that I chose was the Female Offender Treatment and Employment Program. This is an in-resident program primarily based in California, lasts about 12 to 15 months, where women are provided vocational training, employment skills, and other forms of gender-specific counseling as a way to reduce rates of reoffending and facilitate a more smooth reintegration process into society. Now, in 3 separate studies, researchers found that programs that operate with the same model of the FOTEP are the most efficient ways to decrease rates of reoffending. Findings implicated that women who went through in-resident facilities and received gender-specific counseling were far less likely to reoffend than women who did not receive these tools, therefore indicating that programs like the FOTEP provide resources for female offenders who want to change their lives for the better.